Okay, thank you everyone for being here today. This is the Divination Academy. My name is Professor Kelsey Coates, and this is actually the first in a brand new series that I'm doing on the divine masculine energy. The divine masculine devotionals is what I'm calling them. This first class today is an overview of what the divine masculine is. Um, Also, disclaimer with that can look different across many different cultures, across many different pantheons, across many different practices. So there are multiple different definitions of what divine masculine is. Today I will point out which region, which culture it comes from when I'm talking about certain definitions. So just so you know, I will point out where they're coming from. But then I am just going to do an overall kind of the characteristics, the traits, how to work with it. And then kind of depending on how I'm feeling and how you guys are feeling, we might do some review on deity work as well, because this is going to be basic deity work. Because after this, to work with the divine masculine in this series, I'm going to be introducing you to a new god every other week, just like I do my Dark Goddess devotional series. A huge reason why I'm doing this series, is personally, I am a gray witch. I'm a gray practitioner. I am all about duality and balance and all about the laws of the universe and hermetics, and that is all what my practice is about. So when I was only pulling forth goddesses for you guys and only working on the divine feminine, I put myself out of balance. And I just can't do that. And I also want to teach how important the divine masculine is, because this class is small and I had a feeling this was going to happen because everybody is so gung-ho about talking about the divine feminine and working with the divine feminine and bringing the divine feminine forward, which is amazing and we need to do that. But we're also forgetting how important the divine masculine is. And because we haven't been working with it, that is why it is represented collectively so toxic right now. And it's so stuck in the shadows because we're not working with it, because we are only focusing on one so much because it was repressed for so long. So we've swung way too far to one side when it comes to the energy and the shadow work and when it comes to balancing things out. So it's a huge reason why I wanted to do this, because the divine masculine is just as important as the divine feminine. There's not one that's more important than the other. Before I jump into the study guide, does anybody need the link for it? If you're watching the replay, those study guide links will be on the website. And then also if you're watching the replay, check out our website, check out our YouTube page and our Facebook page for more information about us. So does anybody have any questions or any comments before I get going? And does anybody need the study guide? Oh my goodness. I take that as a no. Fabulous. We're going to go in. So the divine masculine. Do you really want to experience wholeness in your life and balance? Do you really want to understand the concept of duality? Do you want to be able to awaken, enlighten, whatever your term is for it, because those are different. Whatever it is that you want to achieve. Do you want to fulfill your sacred contracts? Do you want to fulfill your sacred purposes? Do you want to move on to the next dimension? Like, you're not going to be able to do that without acknowledging the divine masculine, just as much as you acknowledge the divine feminine. So in psychology, this is also a concept. Like, this is brought up in psychology as well. It's just not a spiritual term. It's just not a magical term. Like, also in psychology, this divine masculine energy, this divine masculine, divine feminine energy, it shows up there as well. In psychology, they're known as two polar opposite forces, known as the enema and the animus. What is so fascinating about this is that in both Eastern and Western teachings, whether it's psychology or spirituality or religion, they promote the need to connect with this and explore with this and balance each of these as similarly polar inner forces. And I'm even going to put a little like side note and indentation here, because I'm sure some are going to argue that Christianity doesn't do that. It does, not in the way you want to, because it really pulls forth like the shadow self. But even Christianity couldn't completely write out, even if they wanted to, all of the divine feminine that was in there. They couldn't replace Mother Mary. They couldn't replace Mary Magdalene. They couldn't replace Eve. They couldn't completely tear them out. Even Lilith, like they couldn't get rid of all of that. It's like they still talk about it. They still talk about the fact that it's there. They may not emphasize how important it is to balance it, and they may tell you to really stay away from one, but they still talk about both of those polar inner forces. Um, Also, what's also super, super important is learning how to connect to that enema, which is the feminine energy, and to the animus, which is the masculine energy that is inside of each of those. And I'm going to explain that like a little bit more clearly. Like if the yin and yang symbol is a perfect example of that, and I break that down a little bit more in detail a little bit later. But there is parts of the feminine energy that lives inside the masculine energy, just like there's parts of the masculine energy that lives inside the feminine energy. Like they literally can't exist without the other. This concept in psychology was first coined by the famous psychiatrist Carl Jung. If you were not at my archetype class, I did an entire class on him and the archetypes and what he thinks and how he feels and how crucial this is to so much of our world around us today. Definitely take a look at that study guide if you weren't there, and go watch the replay if you haven't, because I totally break that all down for you. But Carl Jung, yes, amazing. He's credited for a lot of stuff. So he actually even broke it down a little bit further, specifically saying the anima is the feminine part of a man's soul, and then the animus refers to the masculine part of a female's soul. This is where I kind of differ from him a little bit, because I don't like classifying it like gender that way. I don't like that. So like I like it more of like, if you identify more with a feminine soul, then the animus is going to be the masculine energy within your feminine energy. So that's how I like to view it. I don't like that he breaks it down, man versus female. But I get what he did in his. I mean, I get it, but again, I don't agree with that. So I'm going to put a disclaimer there as well. Masculine and feminine energy has been an incredibly important topic for humanity since literally the dawn of time. If you look at it from like a Hindu and Scotty version, like, you have yin and yang, you have Shiva and Scotty. So it's across a lot of different cultures. In ancient times, the divine feminine was typically regarded as nurturing, creative, intuitive, sensual, and was associated with the mystery of the moon. However, the masculine energy was its counterpart. The masculine is outward, it's direct, it's very to me. The characteristics of the divine masculine are forthrightness and logic and independence, strength, morality. The creativity and the inspiration comes from the divine feminine energy, but the action to actually do what you want to do to achieve your dreams comes from that divine masculine. That's also why this energy is so important, and why I feel like when we haven't been working with it as much as we have, why a lot of people, like, their dreams are kind of falling short. It's when they're not working with this. Because if you're not working with your divine masculine, you're not fully harnessing that strength, that action, that momentum, that movement energy to actually get done what you need to get done. The divine feminine is going to dream all those dreams for you. It's going to put all that in for you. It's going to help you create it. But you need that action energy from that divine masculine to actually meet your goals, fulfill your dreams, and all the other yummy things that you can do, like fulfilling your sacred contracts and purposes. Also, if you weren't at that class, please go check that one out, and the study guide, because sacred contracts are a whole big topic as well. So I've talked about this before. I feel like we really, really, really need to return to this. Yes, we still need to emphasize the dark, like the feminine, especially the dark feminine. And we still need to focus on and emphasize on that, but we have to also return to this divine masculine. This is why it's gotten so toxic. You can't replace a toxic shadow version of an energy if you don't ever go work with it. If you don't ever try to work with it and change it and do the shadow work to get it out of that toxic version and into one that's going to flourish, into one that's going to be supportive and protective. And divine masculine energy is actually incredibly compassionate, very, very compassionate. And to get it to there, we have to be willing to work with it. So we've talked kind of like the differences between the both a lot of it. I also kind of want to dump into duality here a little bit because it matters. And I kind of talk about it in every class when it comes to these topics. I'm going to jump though into the chat and see if there's any question. Any questions or any comments or anything else anybody has to say? Yeah, I agree, honey. Yes. Go ahead, honey.
Um, so there's a dark feminine along with just normal feminine energy, or at least a darker side to it, I should
Yep.
say. Does the masculine have that too? Like
Yeah.
a dark side, or would that just be more considered the toxic?
Okay, so toxic, dark, wounded, all same words for the same type of thing.
Okay. And then in that case, if if people see masculine as toxic and that's bad, oh, I get it. I just answered my own question. Thank you.
You're welcome. I was like, I think you're gonna answer your own question before you finish.
Yep.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Nobody else? Awesome. Okay. So to touch on duality just a little bit, because I did do a class on this in chat. I did cover this a lot in my shadow work class. But again, these two matter because light and dark, night and day, hot and cold, winter, summer, sun and moon, inhale, exhale, up and down. These are all examples of a duality that function within the universe. And then dualities they're based on opposite poles. They complete each other in an absolutely beautiful, perfect balanced way. And masculine and feminine energy is just it's another form of duality that you need to work with. There are multiple different dualities in your life you need to make sure is in balance. Masculine and feminine is one of them. For lack of the better word, the light versus the dark, things like that is another aspect that you need to be and make sure that you have in balance when it comes to energy. So some people hold the beliefs in their practices that they are one and the same. Some people view that like masculine and feminine energy are both light and dark. It's just another terms for it. Other people like me view them as they are completely separate energies. They're completely separate dualities that you need to make sure that are in balance. But again, if that's going to be something you're going to have to figure out for your own practice, your own belief, but it is possible to go both ways. If you want to go the way to where light and dark, white or black, if that's what you want to do, and with looking at energy that way, or negative and positive energy, and if you want to align it with one or the other versus feminine or masculine energy. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. The black part, the black energy, that's typically seen as the femininity. The white, the light, the positive, that's typically seen as the masculine. So if you want to equate it that way, if you want to do that with your practice, that's how it will go across the board. Otherwise, like I said, you do have the ability to, contemplate, do through meditation and decide how you view those energies and how you work with them and if you want them separated. But again, you can do it either way. So when it comes to the yin and the yang, which is where we're going to get into that black and that white and be able to kind of explain that animus and that animus and inside of each other as well, kind of how that works. To understand like the masculine and feminine energy, their dance within each other, a visualization of it. I can't think of a much better symbol than the yin and yang symbol, because it is a circle. It's split in two. You have your white part and then you have your black part. However, it's not linear. You will never see that line go straight down the middle. It's always, squiggly. They're intermingling a little bit with each other. They overlap a little bit in some places, but then it also has a white circle within the black spot, and then it has a black spot within the white circle, showing to represent that there's masculinity within the feminine energy, and there's also feminine energy within the masculine energy. They literally can't exist without the other swirling around each other and existing within each other. The black part of the circle, specifically in the yin, represents the femininity, as in Buddhism and older ideologies. Typically, femininity has always been represented as mysterious, the darkness, the moon, so on and so forth with that. And then the white side, like I said, that's typically the yang. It's the masculine side. It's seen as that strong, that shiny, that out and open representation of the sun. So this, like I said, is a great representation to help you understand how those energies work with each other, how they mingle within each other, how they can't exist without each other. In my study guide here, I also have the study guide for the shadow work one if you need that, or if you just want to pop back and forth, because if you want more information about duality as a whole, like I really go into that in a lot of different places as well. If you want to look at it also from like the Hindu perspective, in Hindu mythology, they talk about, I'm really bad at pronouncing this word, Ardnarshwar, which is half man and half woman. This is a divine being that's embodied both energies and then was literally split in half to begin life on Earth. The split happened and it formed the first man Shiva and the first woman Skati, and they're still worshipped today. There's still plenty of worship about this all over the place. Um, it is also said that the masculine and feminine energies also reside within our 72 energy channels, and those two channels in Hinduism are called the Ida and the Pingala, and they originate from our second chakra, the sacral energy center. I do have a link in there for some information about the sacral energy for a link that for a guide on that if you want to work with that specific energy that I like. But I think we might have some classes on them on the YouTube. If we don't, eventually, because I'm going to be doing energy work, I will be going over this as well. And I think we have something on YouTube. If I'm wrong, you guys can come back and tell me I'm wrong. That's totally tell me I was wrong. But second chakra, that's where they typically are thought to enter, to come from, and then they diverge, they spiral up your chakra system, finally meeting at your third eye. When we harmonize these polarities, we experience our Kundalini energy rising through Shushana. And the Shushana also meets the two energies at the third eye chakra. Our Kundalini energy literally can simply be explained as Skati. Typically, Kundalini is Skati, and the energy at the root of the existence rising up to meet Shiva. So it's literally explained as if Skati and the energies, they're literally rising to meet each other. And they're ultimately becoming everything and put all back together in their union. Like that's the description of those energies. That's how it's seen in that practice when it comes to divine versus masculine. Now, overall, as a whole, oh, sorry, I apologize. There were some key findings and notes that I wanted to make sure I talked about because we're talking about masculine energy, and I feel like it just has to be said. Okay, so souls don't have gender. They're just merely, they pick a body type and they play out that role, and they more frequently, they'll embody a certain role, the better they get at it. So over time, each soul will develop a preference to end up being born to a certain biological gender, and then they can plan out their lives according to such preference. And then when souls incarnate in the opposite gender, they can find it kind of challenging, but you can still live a great functioning life. You can still be absolutely amazing. So I want to preface this that like the feminine, divine masculine, like it has nothing to do with your gender, your sexual identity. It has nothing to do with that. This is all energy. We all have both of these energies within us. We will just end up aligning with one more than the other. It has nothing to do with gender. It has nothing to do with biological gender. It has nothing to do with your identity. It has like that has nothing to do with that. This is all just, I want to make sure like it's not biological. I just really, really want to hit that. Like this is not a biological thing. This is all energy. I hope that I hope I said that in the best way possible and that I didn't offend anybody and that I made that very clear with that. And I really, really hope that, but like it has nothing to do with your gender. Everybody has both of these in there. Because I just feel the divine masculine, I always get that pushback with this. The divine masculine energy is incredibly expansive. And it refers to focused strength and action. It's also like the manner of action that creates harmony and beauty and wholeness. So when it is really like when it is flourishing, when it is not in its shadow, when it is not toxic, it is very, very very, very, very expansive. It is very compassionate. It is very protective. It is all about like wholeness and oneness. And it is also believed that the divine masculine energy is connected to the left side of our brain, psychology wise as well. I wanted to throw that tidbit in there. So traits and characteristics that are said to represent divine masculine, this is what I have come up with across many cultures and many practices. So remember, it may be different culture to culture, pantheon to pantheon, practice to practice, but this is kind of like generalized the most common characteristics that I find across them. Divine masculine is all about, like I said, taking action. It's very assertive, physical force. This is the decision making, the leadership, being protective, logical thinking and reasoning, the achieving, the action to achieving your goals and dreams, like I talked about before, being very goal oriented, that wanting to have that providing energy, wanting to provide for those around you, wanting to caretake, like in that way of providing in that way. Masculine energy, like I said, it's made of action, power, and strength. Even if you want to look at the sexual anatomy of a man and look at the biological body of a man, like it makes sense there as well. The masculine sexual organs are literally all about force and penetration, whereas the female sexual anatomy is built to receive, create, and shelter human life. So if you want to go there, like you can even, you can even pull it out from there as well if you really would really want to. But again, I stress it's not about that. It's energy. Um, so somebody, like I said, who has worked through the shadow work is truly like at one with that masculine energy. They're balanced. This is how it's going to manifest. This is those traits that I just brought off to you. That is how it's going to be. You're going to see those things. When it's expressed in a healthy way, like I said, you're going to see very like assertive dominance, but sorry. You're going to see assertive dominant, but like I said, it's in a good way. Like it's not overbearing, it's not overpowering, it's not controlling, it's not aggressive. They're going to be more defense oriented about themselves and about their loved ones. They're going to be willing to negotiate. You're going to be more family oriented. You're going to respect and value, that feminine energy and women around you. Even as a woman yourself, like that helps you also respect that as well. It helps you like honor other women yourself when you are if you are a woman and if you recognize with divine feminine more than you are tuned to the divine masculine energy, you are gonna be able to connect to those that identify with the female energy more. You're gonna be able to feel a little bit more loving, a little bit more caring, a little bit more receptive. You're going to be a little bit more calm and balanced. You're going to be able to solve problems a lot faster. Your critical thinking is going to be up a lot faster. You're not going to want to avoid to solve problems or like go into slothness to solve problems. You're also going to be incredibly sociable, but be able to make friends super, super easily. If you're sitting in your divine masculine energy. And like I said, you've worked with it, you're balanced in it. You're not unbalanced, you're not stuck in the shadows or the toxic part of it. For it to be toxic or negative, or you're still in the shadows and you haven't worked through it. Like I said, there's so many interchangeable words. You're going to be protective, but in an incredibly aggressive, controlling, domineering way. You're going to be more offense oriented. So you're going to be more of like, I'm going to get them before they get me. I'm going to get them before they get me. Like, I'm going to make sure they hurt me before I hurt, like, I'm gonna make sure I hurt them before they hurt me. So you're gonna be more commands, like you're gonna give commands, you're gonna have ultimatums, you're gonna be very demanding with what you say, not willing to negotiate, you're not gonna be asking. You're gonna be also unable to commit, whether it's to a project, to yourself, to your goals, to a partner. I don't like this one, but they have it on here. You end up being very like more objectifying towards women. You end up being more harsh towards women. Again, if you identify with the masculine energy, this is not saying just as a man. You're gonna get more angry very easily. And this is even if also this is even if you identify with the feminine energy more, and you haven't worked with this and your masculine energy and it's still out of balance within you. You're going to get angry very easily. You're going to go off at a tip of a dime. Things are going to make you super, super irritated all the time. And your anger is going to be explosive, like very, very explosive. You're going to create a lot more problems through aggressive behavior. Like you may get into arguments at work and end up getting fired from jobs often, or you may end up like just getting into drama at work and end up losing your job that way repeatedly. Things like that might end up happening where you just cause a lot of problems. And then you always are in competition with other people. Like no matter what, you are always thinking that you are in competition with somebody else and somebody else is trying to one up you and you need to one up them in any way, shape, or form in your life. So as I just talked about, you can see that those two look very different if you worked with it or if you haven't, if it's unbalanced or if it's balanced. And you can start to recognize these traits in you more and more as you start to become more aware of it. And that's just literally just by being very, very intentional and observational with what's going on with you when emotions come up and what's happening with emotions and how you're reacting to other people. Being able to keep like a daily log about that is a great way to start to identify like if any of those are coming up on a regular basis, and if they are, then to start to be able to harness in on how to do that shadow work to be able to work with that energy to get it back into balance. Other ways to kind of figure that out also is going to be any type of healing methods. You can try some astral travel as well to get into your sacred space to try to help. Grounding will help with this as well to try to identify what's even going on, and if any of these traits are coming up for you, and if you're out of balance or if you're not. In a relationship, this masculine energy also is going to look like if it's expressed in a healthy way, by being able to look after the feminine side, be able to, whoever the partner is that identifies with feminine energy more, you're going to be able to look after them. You're going to be able to show more unconditional love and respect for them. You're going to be able to support them, also be able to provide financially when you need to, bringing resources as well as emotional security. Um, and you're going to be really focused in the beginning stages on courtship and making sure that you're offering secure and stable attachment. You're going to be very gentle and help make decisions when your partner needs help with them. And then you're going to be able to show determination and logical thinking and quick problem skills when trauma or life obstacles get in the way. Um, okay, so before I go into ways to work with it, I'm going to jump back in the chat and see if you guys have any questions. Yes, honey, I've had to focus on my divine masculine so much the last 3 weeks. You have no idea. My divine masculine, I've had to work with a lot, and it's been because my anger has been, I've been getting angry at the time of the hat for things that are no reason. So I totally diddle that with you. I got really hardcore on the divine feminine for like 3 years straight, and I didn't work with my divine masculine nearly as much as I should, and it got so out of balance and out of whack. It took a lot to pull that back, so I totally get that. Okay, anybody have any questions or any comments or anything other than that? Fabulous. Okay. So, ways that you can consciously balance your masculine energy. Ways that you can simply just tap into her by taking action, conquering your fears, setting boundaries, standing in your own power, saying no, being assertive, and saying no. If you're a people pleaser, that is gonna be step one for you. I am a people, I am that. I embody that energy to a T. So saying no was literally the first time I really actually genuinely said no to somebody, and like didn't go back and like change my mind, and didn't go back on what I was doing. And I was intentional in working with my masculine energy. That was my first step, and that was my first like, oh wow, that feels different, and I like that, and I need to work with that, and I need to bring that forward. Being assertive as well, demanding your worth, literally making sure that you are being treated what you are worth in every area of your life. And taking responsibility for anything that you need to take responsibility for. So again, ways that you can consciously balance the masculine energy within you and within your feminine energy as well. You become comfortable in your own skin. You understand that there's literally no such thing as a right or wrong way to be you. And once you actually start understanding and valuing your own weaknesses, and that you understand that you are absolutely equally unique, you are able to work through kind of some of this not being able to take action, not being willing to set boundaries, not being able to stand in your power. It brings you back to that assertiveness, that calling to yourself. Yes, you do this for the divine feminine as well. I've talked about doing this for the divine feminine, but you also need to look at that part as well, making sure that you're doing this for the divine masculine as well, understanding who you are wholeheartedly. Ways to do this are through meditation, affirmation, shadow work, astral travel. You can reach out to your guides, and there are so many other ways that you can do this as well to start learning to become way more comfortable in your skin, and understanding that there's no such thing as a right or wrong way. Balancing your chakras is a great way to start working with this and to consciously work with this, because balancing your chakras helps you balance out all of your energy as a whole. And how you balance them is you can work with all of them. Otherwise, you can determine that's great and you can do that, but you also need to determine which ones are out of balance and get them into balance as well. So learning that takes a little bit of time, takes a little bit of study, takes a little bit of work. If you need some information on that, I know that we have some classes, I believe, on Igwis, Reiki, on the website, which is working with, chakras and working on balancing chakras. Otherwise, I have a lot of resources that I can get put on the website too for you guys on that. But if you want to, a good place to start is if your divine masculine is out of balance, it's most likely going to be the solar plexus, which fuels our sense of self and helps us take action. It helps with that movement. It helps us not procrastinate. And then also your heart chakra, because it allows our relationships to stop being like so transactional between us. It allows it to open up all of our other energies, and it helps heal both the divine masculine and the divine feminine. So if you work with those two, to start with, if you think that you're out of balance, I think that's a great place to start. Otherwise, you can also, like I said, figure out what's specifically out of balance within you. And there are lots and lots of ways to do that. You can also develop your discipline, because that is really what that masculine energy is about. It's that action, it's that discipline, it's that goal-oriented energy, it's that force. So making sure that you actually develop that discipline to keep you motivated, to keep you moving through your goals. So however you do this, whether it's you need to start bullet journaling so that you are doing everything that you want to do in your daily schedule throughout the day, whether it's, picking one goal that you want to work on for 1 week, having a post-it note somewhere that you can see it with that goal on there, and you remove that every day once you do that goal. So whatever you need to do that will help motivate you to develop discipline in any type of way, in any type of part of your life, to develop that structure, to keep that energy moving forward, that will help connect you and help consciously help you work with that. Because like I said, the inspiration comes from your feminine energy. It comes from your feminine energy, but it takes that masculine energy to actually move that energy and to have that idea come to fruition for you to meet that goal. So there are countless ways for you to start working on goal setting. If you need any, you can DM me. Just DM me. I have countless ways to try to do goal setting, to try to discipline, to try to structure your life. I've said it in many classes before. I have OCD, so that's my jam. Structure, organization, discipline, like that's my jam. Like that is where my soul sits. So I can 100% help with that. Another way that you can do this is by simply tuning into your emotions. So the masculine energy doesn't quite know how to process emotions. So being able to actually tune into them helps you learn how to express them. And that brings you closer to that as well. And it helps you bring that in. So some specifics on how you can do this are just starting with because a lot of times they have okay, so again, I want to backtrack a second. So the masculine energy, they kind of have a problem with processing the emotions because they're all about, what's next, the discipline, the steps, the energy moving forward, that motivation moving forward. So they don't want to get so hung up on the why or the behind or what was going on. They just want what's next. They want to keep moving the energy forward. They want to keep going towards their goal. They want to keep moving towards what that destination is, and they see it's so trivial to work on the rest. So when you start to work on those, tune into those emotions, it lets you tap into that shadow side, that toxic side, that unhealed side of that masculine energy, and it forces it to slow down and actually process that and not try to focus so much on that what next. So if you don't like to tune into your emotions and try to do that, a great way to start with that is just try to simply journal just what happened in your day. Pick a couple events that happen throughout your day, even if they're super simple. Like I was cooking and I dropped a spoon on the ground that got spaghetti sauce all over my counters. So then I was angry and frustrated and upset because then I had to bend over and clean that up and I didn't want to deal with that. So just something super, super simple and small like that, it can start making you process your emotions and they don't have to be big ones. And then you end up getting to start opening up that masculine energy to start being willing to have conversations about not just what's next, but like, why are we doing to get to that what's next and like what happened to get us there. So that's a great way to work with that masculine energy that way. You can also, if you choose to work with the elements of nature, which in almost all my classes, all my rituals, like I always talk about how I work with the elements of nature, and I always promote that. Air and fire are more of those yang elements. They're more of those lighter, hotter, ethereal. They're also related to power and thought, and typically related to your third chakra and your fourth chakra. So energetically, these elements really just make sense to go with that masculine energy. So I feel like if you do work with these elements, that's another way to be able to consciously work with your divine masculine. So you can work on healing any father wounds you have. That's the next way that you can work with that. Do you have a grudge or any unresolved issues with your father, your grandfather, any other father figure? If you have trauma or abuse or neglect throughout your childhood that has to deal with your father as well, that is another way that you can work with that divine masculine, especially within your divine feminine energy. Um, because yeah, just it, I think it just makes sense actually. I don't think I need to explain it further than that. How you can do this is through shadow work. Just make sure that depending on the trauma, depending on the level of abuse, depending on the level of neglect, that you've done shadow work prior to this so that you don't jump straight into such a deep wound. So make sure that you do some, basic shadow work prior to this to kind of that you are ready, and then also gets you familiar with the shadow work process if you aren't familiar with that, and it helps you open up the wound a little bit more slower. You can also work on healing your sexuality, especially if your sexuality revolves around seeking instant gratification and body pleasures, and you have a hard time with committing to one partner, or even if you have committed to one partner, but you are hypersexual. I'm speaking about this from personal experience. It will help working with your divine feminine will help curb that a little bit. It will help you realize why maybe you're doing it, why you need it, and help you work through the shadow work that you can do to be able to fully harness and let go of that. Because yeah, usually if you're, hypersexual, there's something behind it. There's something behind it. So doing the shadow work to figure out what is behind that will help heal that divine masculine energy. Physical movement as well, great, because divine masculine energy is, like I said, it's all about that forward momentum. It's all about that direction. It's all about the action. So it will definitely awaken within you if you start to do a lot more movement. If you take part in like any martial arts, for example, that really works to build your physical and mental power, or you start doing any type of lifting at the gym. I personally do Bushido and I work with katanas. I do Bushido every single day. I have katanas that I do work with every single day. Yes, I love that. That is my movement. That is how I connect. I've talked about it even in classes. Like one of my divine sacred tools is a katana. It's a short katana that I use instead of a wand. So that because I worked with it to develop my divine masculine, that piece became so important to me and so central to my energy that that movement is just always there and that energy is always there with it, which is super, super beautiful. Another thing that you can do to awaken and work with your divine masculine is caring for others. Because talked about earlier, the divine masculine energy actually has an incredibly giving nature. If you think about it, like when divine, masculine is really being balanced, when it's really being harnessed, when it's not stuck in its shadow, they're all about providing for their loved ones. They're all about providing for their loved ones, protecting for their loved ones, making sure they have what they need, making sure they have the protection and the support that they need. And so it's a very, very giving nature. So any way that you can care for others, anyway, will work. Any way that you can connect to caring for others and show them that you have some type of skill to help those who are in need, is a great way to work with your divine masculine. And then leading a purposeful life. I think this goes for both, but I feel like this goes to the divine masculine a little bit more just because the divine masculine, like I said, it's all about that energy. It's all about that movement. It's about that forward momentum. It's all about that decision making, that harnessing. So if you truly want to make sure that like you're in that, you're doing things in your life that truly give you deep joy. They truly are harnessing your soul and sacred contracts and your soul and sacred purposes. It's letting you completely experience your full existence when you go on that route. And that just really connects that divine masculine. In the study guide, I have some father wound affirmations if that's something that anybody needs to work with or needs to use to help working with their divine masculine. So take a peek at those if you need to. And then I also have some stuff in here about like, and some great graphics to help you look at what are the characteristics of the divine feminine, what are the characteristics of the divine masculine, what do they look like wounded, what do they look like balanced, what do they look like if they're stuck in the shadow, things like that, so that you can have a way to start to learn how to identify and to know if something is out of balance and to move forward with it. Okay, so I am at the end of the stuff when it comes to the divine masculine as a whole. So I'm gonna jump back in the chat. If you guys have any questions, go. You guys can go now. Any questions, any comments, or anything like that? Did I just do a really good job, or it's or is the divine masculine just that easy? Okay, well, it'll be up to you guys then. If you guys want to, we can go through and we can review some basic deity work if you want. Otherwise we can be done. I'd say both, honey. Otherwise we can be done for class today too, because I did everything with the divine masculine. So it's up to you guys. Personally, I've been coughing a lot and I'm not feeling the best. So if you guys are okay with not doing review on basic deity work, I'm totally fine with that. But again, it's up to you guys. Because if anybody missed that class, I'm fine with doing some review. Does anybody have any opinion? Or are we just gonna let me pick?
Chirp, chirp, chirp.
I know. Okay, well, I think since nobody's saying they for sure want the review, I think I'll say that class is done. If you do have specific questions that you want to ask me about basic DD work, feel free to send me a DM. Otherwise, I did do a class on that separate. I don't know if the replay's up on YouTube yet, but it should get on YouTube soon. And then I have an entire study guide. I linked the study guide also into here. So in 2 weeks, the first god I'm going to be introducing you guys to is my personal favorite. I'm gonna be biased here on that because he is my patron deity. And it is Hades. It is Lord Hades. I adore Hades. I'm very, very excited to teach you about him. And there's a lot of different stories about him that I feel like people don't know. And I want people to stop confusing him with Thanatos. I'm sick of that crap. So that's a big reason why I'm doing it too. And again, he's my patron deity. I am going to 100% though make sure that my energy input is at the correct level that day so that I call him in. I want you guys to meet him and I want you guys to feel the difference between a god energy and a goddess energy because that energy is different. So if you guys don't have any other comments or questions, I will call it for today and I will see you guys. Oh my goodness, when's my next class? Probably in 2 days. Oh, I have Yule. I have Yule. We have Yule on Wednesday. We have Yule on Wednesday, and then Thursday I'm teaching magic basics, and then Saturday we have working with demons, and then Sunday I'm teaching the history of Santa Claus. So yay! And then if you're in my study group, we meet tomorrow at 2 p.m. So my study group, we are meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. Okay, thank you everybody so much for being here today. I super, super appreciate it.
Wait, I have a question,
Go for
Professor.
it. Yes.
About study group during the day. Will any of those times be changing to like PM times?
I don't know how that's going to be possible because of all the other professors teaching classes at night.
Yeah.
So if I did that, people would have to choose between going to study group or going to the classes. And I don't know if I want to make people do that.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna try
I
though, but
will be
I
able
just
to
don't want to
attend
take up
study group.
every night.
Okay, then is there any way that maybe someone, it doesn't have to be you, just an idea, that whoever is attending study group can just like recap what y'all talked about?
Yeah, and
Like,
I can even do like a little summary recap in the chat too if you guys want.
yeah, just because I don't want to miss
Yeah,
info, you know what I mean? And I have work during the day, so I can't attend.
yeah.
All right, cool.
Would you prefer if I recorded those? Because I didn't record the last two because I didn't know if people wanted those recorded because of asking like personal questions. But if you guys did,
If you recorded them, how would they get to us without
so
being on YouTube?
that's true. Let me
Just
look into
because
that.
it's
Let
gonna
me try
take
to get
10
some
years.
ideas.
Okay.
Let me try to see if I can come up with a way to do that.
I'm
All
not
right.
sure how it was done, but I know Paul's classes, they were recorded through Zoom and they're up on the website, password protected
That's
and not
true.
on YouTube.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to Paul and Alex and see how they did that.
I apologize if that's adding more work. I mean, I thought it would be an easy ask, but it sounds
No,
crazy.
no, you're totally fine. I was kind of worried about them being during the day too, but I also just don't want to take up every single night. And then professors are like, well, Kelsey, you're doing something every night. So when am I supposed to teach?
Right. Right. Yep, you are.
Okay. And I'm gonna try to get one on the weekends. So I think that'll be easier for people to get there too. I'm gonna try to see if I can fit one in on, maybe Friday night or Saturday morning.
Okay.
So I'll try that too.
All right. Awesome sauce. Thank you.
Awesome. Any other questions? Okay, fabulous. Thank you so much for being here with me today, you guys. I know this is a shorter class, but I super, super appreciate it. And I'm really, really excited to keep going with this series. Have a good day, everybody.